Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking some more base concept stuff as far as character creation. So you want to be a Shadowrunner. This is one of the documents that I link around all the time, and as you can see, there are a couple people who are looking at it right now. Um, it is mostly thrown about on the Shadowrun subreddit. Um, I like to to think it has helped a lot of people, and I've gotten some positive feedback on it. Given as one of the things that I'm doing here on my channel is character generation based, I should probably do a basic character generation video, right? That would make sense for for consumable content. This is going to be high concept basics that are easy for application across a large variety of things. First thing I'm going to come out with is street level is not good. The way that the priority choices are tweaked for street level are very much favoring uh, the magic and technomancy side of things. So unless you're ready for a party of all of your players being magically active or technomancers, I don't do it. The only thing that really gets crippled in that situation is Nuyen and um, item availability, which only hurts your mundanes a lot. Uh, you can only afford like wired reflexes with money A, and that is like 2/3 of your money. So street level is about theme and where you're playing the game and the kind of enemies and stuff you're dealing with, not a rule set. So getting that out of the way. There are two major character creation softwares that you can use to make your life easier. Chummer is free, but has its own exotic tastes to it. I personally prefer Hero Lab, which is the secondary option. It is a paid but licensed product, which means you're going to be able to go into it, and when you click on a skill or an item, it's going to have all of the text right from the book in there for all of the packages that you have. I It is going to cost a bit of money, but the convenience of having the things in there are pretty nice. Um, I use it for looking up the the different items and stuff. Rather than pulling out a book, I'll pull out Hero Lab, and then it'll tell me what book it's in, and I'll go from there. Boom, have all the spells and that kind of stuff. It does a lot of the math for you as well. Uh, so getting into actual character creation, your minimum attribute levels are something I like to avoid. I don't like attributes of one because a logic of two can be explained a lot of different ways. Maybe you're as intelligent as the average person, but you never had the opportunity to go to proper schooling beyond like middle school. So a lot of that stuff is kind of lost to you. But at the same time, a logic of one is not very good. You're on average about a third as intelligent as your average person. And the more you interact with people, the more you realize that average people are not very intelligent. So, yeah. The same thing with strength and reaction, that kind of thing. Your GM will pick and choose how strict they want to be to that kind of thing and how much they care about that kind of stuff. Some GMs don't. I kind of do. I don't like to, to deal with that super low end of things because it leads to people who are like, I'm body 2, agility 1, reaction 1, strength 2, infirm dwarf with maxed out mental stats. Because it doesn't make sense to me in a character level for you to be a physical cripple but have charisma 5 and are also a technomancer and that kind of stuff. Um, Body and willpower are really nice to have on odd levels, at least of 3, because it is half of your body or willpower divided by 2, rounded up, plus 8 for your physical and stun damage tracks. So body 3 gives you 10, willpower 3 gives you 10. Most of the damage you're going to be taking in Shadowrun is going to be stun damage, just the way that the armor rules work. As such, willpower 5 is a nice thing to have if you can fit it in there, because that'll give you 11 stun boxes as opposed to 10. Um, it'll help against magic and drugs and that kind of thing. Edge is an interesting type situation. It's one of those things that the more of it you have, the more you lean on it. and the less of it you have, the more you want of it. Um, it is going to cost you in character generation to increase your edge a whole bunch. And sometimes people be like, I want to be the 8 edge lucky human who has 1 in every stat, and I just, get by on luck alone. And they're like, well, that's great and all as a basic idea, but remember now when you use your edge to do a thing, you're as good as somebody who actually invested points into it that doesn't have to worry about I can do 8 good things a game instead of being able to do all good things a game, and having the edge there when the dice don't cooperate, or when something is really important, or when you have to do something you're not good at. So yeah, you could have your attribute of, let's say, 4 or 5 and your skill of 1, so that gets you at a 6, and then you spend your 8 edge and all of a sudden you've got 14 dice to explode. Or you can invest more, switch your priorities around so that you get the higher skill priority, and now all of a sudden you can invest into the actual the skill. Or if you switch your money priority around, you can get more money to get you more augmentations to have it work out that your base attribute is higher, which also then gets you skills that are higher. Attributes and skills have an interesting relationship between the two of them, where every attribute point you have in agility is effectively a point in locksmithing, sneaking, every weapon skill, every other palming, every other agility linked skill. So I always like to value uh, attributes higher than skills because it gives you more per thing. Logic is another one that gives you a huge amount of actual benefit rather than sort of benefit. Yeah, I could invest a lot of skill points into like the biotech group of my medic, or I could get a skill group of 2 or 3 in that and get a logic of 8, and all of a sudden I have about the same dice pool, but I get more knowledge skills, better knowledge skills. Uh, my off-branded stuff I have a better dice pool for as well. Skills are also pretty important because you can get a lot of mileage out of them through specializations and stuff, but uh, they also help you round out to avoid glitches, which I'm not going to go into the full thing because I will link this document in the video description, and it's kind of long, but I'm going to kind of scroll through here a little bit. So Shadowrun is a dangerous world. As such, most characters should have some way of defending themselves, even if it's just a couple of points in the pistol skill and a taser. This way, there's something you can do when things go horribly wrong. Granted, which weapon skill you choose is kind of up to you. Automatics are generally a really good choice because machine pistols are small and fairly concealed. SMGs have a little bit more punch and ammo capacity, and then assault rifles are just really good. They are automatics covers everything you need, as do most of the other weapon skills. Your heavy pistol is only a few points off from an assault rifle and how much damage it does before ammo types. A Ruger is 9p, a AK-97 is 10p. They both have 2 points of armor penetration, I believe. The Ruger, however, only has 6 shots, single shot, where the AK has all of the wonderful burst fire rules and a much larger magazine, that kind of stuff. But the Ruger's a lot more concealable. So there's a lot of trade-off back and forth in there. Something else that every character should probably have is some perception dice and then some sneak dice, because you are intending to do criminal things. You do not want to be seen, but you want to see the things that are kind of there to get you. Perception will most likely be your most rolled skill throughout the entire thing. There's a couple of skills down here that have a lot of really specific and not really specific, I'm sorry, really appropriate and good specializations that you can choose. Remember, specialization doesn't necessarily have to be something that you have practiced over and over and over and over again. That's what the fluff associated with the rules tells you. The rules say, in this situation, you have 2 more dice because you're better at it. So it could very easily be that I haven't necessarily practiced sneaking around in urban environments. It's the fact that I haven't been out in the wilderness, so I'm in an urban environment, I'm watching out for kicking cans and not stepping on crack pipes. Where in the wilderness, I need to worry about stepping on twigs. That moss over there is slippery. I could fall on that. That kind of thing. A completely different situation to have to adjust yourself to that you're not used to. Given as you've always lived in the city, there's no reason you would have a wilderness specialization unless maybe you did a lot of paintballing, that kind of thing. The So just as a quick list, con with fast talking. When you're caught in a place where you need a lie, you don't go crap, fast talking. When you're trying to bluff your way to things, fast talk. Normally, I wouldn't give it to you when you were putting together like a forged document because then you have time and it's not a oh crap. But when you're pulled over by a knight errant officer and they ask for your papers, please, or what you do you know how fast you're going? Fast talk. It is a cheap, easy way to get even like your normal street samurai a couple of extra points, maybe like a 5 or a 6 con, and then have edge on top to try and you know get through it. Computer and hardware is something that it doesn't hurt to have because everything in the world is a computerized nowadays. Especially if you are a breaking and entering person because you're going to need hardware to get into some of those cases. First aid, bullet wounds, 90% of the time you're going to be shot. That's how you're going to be hurt. Gymnastics is another nice thing to have, which fits great in a singular 5 karma grab, the athletics group at 1. Running, jumping, swimming, great to have. Sprinting specialization for running. The times you're going to roll running, you're going to want to roll sprinting. So rather than going running, then 2 more skill points in it to get a running dice of 3 for your sprints when you're trying to close the distance and that kind of thing. Running plus the sprinting spec will get you those 3 dice for 2 specialization for 2 skill points. We talked about sneaking and the urban specialization earlier. Gear. Oh man, Shadowrun's got a lot of gear options, but a couple of things you're going to want. You're going to want a non-lethal option. I talked in my Leaving Fantasy Behind video about non-lethal should be your default because you can always escalate later, and you driving around with APDS in your gun could end up getting you in trouble where stick and shock is significantly more legal. Um, you're going to want a stealthy option. This could be some kind of melee option, or you can just grab a silencer. Most guns can take silencers, and that will greatly increase the time that you are going to have before the fuzz is called on. For character creation, I recommend a stack of APDS and a stack of stick and shock for your main combat option. APDS for when you want to kill things or fight spears, that kind of thing. And stick and shock, of the non-lethal types, it's the one I prefer the most at character creation when your resources are limited. It's going to drop initiative off people you hit. It's going to give a dice pool penalty to people you hit with it. It's going to confer those actually on a glancing hit or a tied hits to shoot you and hits to be defended. And it's going to do non-lethal damage. It's legal, and when you can use it to shoot at drones because as it's electrical damage, it actually deals physical damage to drones and vehicles, which can make it a little bit easier for you to hurt them. Spare clips. Some grenades aren't bad to have. Some flashbangs, some frag grenades, something to break it up. It's obviously not in your everyday gear and that kind of thing. Armor. Armor is super important to have. An armor jacket is 12 armor for 1,000 Nuyen. It is stupid microphone. Um, so an armor jacket is a cheap thing that helps keep you alive. I don't know where I got cut off. I apologize. Uh, at 1,000 Nuyen, they are probably your most efficient Nuyen to soak dice you can get. And you can get things like electrochromatic and stuff in there to make them a little bit more society palpable. Your helmet plus your motorcycle is going to look completely normal. Nobody's going to look funny at you for having a motorcycle helmet when you're driving a motorcycle. It's what they're there for, to keep your brains inside your head. So even if we just go with our basic 3 body that we talked about earlier, our 12 armor from our armor jacket and our helmet, that's 17 soap. That is not bad for most people that haven't invested a lot of resources into being a big beefy person. That'll let you do pretty okay. Um, Somewhere in the area of 5 to 6 damage from most things will be soaked up. Um, as I talked about some other stuff earlier with non-conductivity, with stick and shock being a fairly popular option. Non-conductivity is great to have. I like to take it in um, sets of 5 on my armor, just because, okay, I know all electrical weapons are AP -5. So I'm going to take 5 points of non-conductivity. This way I can just roll what my normal soak is and not have to worry about it because I'm lazy. Um, when you get down into their more situation-specific armors, you can pick up things like thermal dampening and ruthenium, that kind of stuff, which will a chameleon suit with ruthenium polymer and thermal dampening is going to do you wonders for your sneak thief ninja person that's going to try and break into places. Um, Come down here into electronics, you're going to want a DNI. This is one of 2 major ways, either a data jack or Trodes. As I find out a year later that this has a place where it needs a space. Um, that's basically something everybody's going to need because it allows you to basically metagame. All of your information can be shared between your teammates at the speed of thought, and all of those things are just kind of like boop boop boop. Oh, I have cyberized it slave to my comic here. You guys can see what I see. There's no need to pretend it's like, well, I'm sorry, I don't know that. That kind of thing. A similar thing you're gonna need is gonna be one major comic, and it's recommended that you get a couple of burner comics, usually Metalinks, which are gonna let you do any number of interesting things. You can use them to set up detonators. You can make a phone call with it to deliver some threatening message and then just break that phone. Boom, done. When you're being paid thousands of Nuyen to do a job, $100 for a way to send a message is super uh, super important and operational things. Down here with your vision devices and stuff, you can get a lot of free dice pretty quickly. If you grab some contact lenses at rating 3 and put vision enhancement 3 in them, that is +3 to visual perception. That is 90% of what your perception tests are going to be. That's 2100 Newton. Boom, done. Um, you can put vision devices in your glasses, your motorcycle helmet, your ballistic mask, all of that kind of stuff. It is easy to get a bunch of extra dice there for those perception tests, and then being able to pick up things like low latent thermographic, you could grab, a set of goggles for your night vision stuff. You could put those mods straight into your ballistic mask for low light vision, that kind of thing. Um, Audio devices are pretty similar. Uh, Rating 3 earbuds plus audio enhancement 3. That's +3 to all auditory perception tests, which is, let's say, of that 90% that is vision, 80% of that, what is left, or I guess 8% of that 100 is going to be auditory. Um, the other stuff will be, you know, maybe you smell something in the air, that kind of thing. That a giant pile of extra dice that you can get for free, essentially. Earbuds are 1650, I want to say. Coming down to here into some other stuff that people should be always carrying is a Medkit at rating 3 and a trauma patch. Trauma patches are one of those things that if you need one, you want to have one because they are going to automatically stabilize people you slap them on. You're bleeding out. You don't want to worry about your fellow runners. Like, oh, did Steve remember his trauma patch today? Oops, he didn't. I guess I'm dying. That sucks. Um, Whereas if you are carrying one and everybody knows that they carry their own, when you go down, I'm gonna I can take a quick complex action to search your body for your trauma patch, and then I can slap you with it. Boom, done. You can't do first aid without a med kit, so a rating 3 med kit being one of those like pocket-sized ones, uh, you can get started on healing somebody up. It's not going to do you all that well, but you can't do it without one. It is kind of nice for a team um, to have like a rating 6 that somebody throws in their van, or if you have a larger vehicle, to put a rating 6 weapon in your trunk. Carry the rating 3 one all you, but that one in your trunk will save somebody's life. Sins and licenses are something every runner is going to need, because at some point you are going to have to pretend to be an actual person. Um, Talk to your GM, see how you guys want to work the licenses, because technically I believe you're supposed to have licenses for every single thing. So if you're carrying like 2 pistols with 3 different types of ammo that are all restricted, that's 5 licenses. That's a pain in the balls. I personally usually only go cyberware, bioware, magic, matrix for like your cyberdex and programs and stuff, and normal regular random gear that you might be carrying, that kind of thing. A driver's license, concealed carry, um, that kind of thing. Don't be afraid to, as a run expense on some higher paid runs, buy some fake sins that aren't very good to intentionally burn. Also, remember that you can get licenses for a lot of other things. You can have a bounty hunter's license. You could have a contractor's license, or a license to practice law. That kind of stuff can help you set up things. You could get licenses for different megacorps. So if you're trying to infiltrate a Horizon facility, go out and buy a rating 3 fake Horizon Sin that has a um, like a stage crew license attached to it. And if you have some photography or artist, maybe a makeup thing or a makeup specialist, help sell that fake identity. Um, some things, drugs. Shadowrun winners do drugs. This is a lot for GMs to kind of balance out your wired reflexes 3 street samurai. Well, gangers love their cram. Um, your security forces they're probably gonna have a popper or 2 of jazz on them in case things go horribly wrong. Um, then there's a couple of other useful things. Long haul means you don't have to sleep for 4 days. Novacoke gives you some charisma drugs. Psych lets you sustain um, more spells easier, in addition to giving you some mental boosts. Then there's some recreational stuff that you guys uh, may have a problem with, maybe Bliss or Beatles or Zen and that kind of stuff. Having having a vehicle is super important for a lot of different aspects of things. For one, it is really easy to transport your assault rifle in the trunk of your car compared to on your motorcycle, that kind of thing. Um, your motorcycles are fairly standard. This is unfortunately not updated for Rigor 5, so we'll just ignore that, kind of get over it. A couple of things to remember is being inconspicuous. A Dodge Scoot is not something that a professional criminal is going to be driving around with all of the time. Things like the Ford Americar is the most common car that is like your 4-door family sedan. So buying that, there's hundreds of them on the road. At least in your color anyway. Um, so if somebody's after you and there's like he's driving a red Ford Americar, it's like, all right, I just passed 3 of them. You want to give me a little bit more information? There's no like mechanical in the game mentions of those kind of things, but it's a situational thing of like, all right, well, eh. And then if you are trying to sell a specific con with your fake sins and that kind of stuff, renting a fancier vehicle will help to do that. Um, and then there are your trucks that will be able to carry more stuff, look slightly more out of place. Like the Roadmaster, for example, is I like to call it rolling probable cause, because why are you driving around in a car that big? And be prepared for a lot of let's call it random searches. But hey, That's the price you pay for the ridiculous amount of armor and that kind of stuff. Water and aircraft are going to be really run dependent and usually supplied by the Johnson, or at least allowed to be rented to you from said Johnson. Big fan of faking a boat fishing trip, renting a boat and going out and doing that for some recon when it's relevant. Um, and then there's just some other stuff to add down the bottom about things like data taps, stealth tags, and uh, just normal everyday runner gear you might have. Like your simple cred stick that you have could be the most important piece of gear that you carry with you because that could be loaded with Nuyen, and all of a sudden that is a bribe. And as we all know, money talks. So being able to just kind of dump that off and get things going. Um, Subvocal microphone / micro transceivers allow you to get a bit of communication through to your team without having to deal with your comm link in case those comms are jammed. Area jammers, also fantastic pieces of gear that can help turn the tides in your favor. Um, Toolkits and such can depend upon your actual profession and your role a little bit. Things like plastic restraints, they're plastic zip ties. You can fit a fairly high stack of them in one of your pockets, and then real quickly, if you guys have ever played Payday 2, you just zip, there goes your hostages. Um, the breaking and entering stuff will obviously be taken if you have a breaking and entering person, or maybe just I don't have the rooms for it in my skill set, but I have priority money. I will buy this stuff because we are building our characters as a team, and then I will hand this stuff off to maybe your breaking and entering adept who has a significantly lower cash scene. Um, just scrolling through my list here real quick. Um, Stim patches and trank patches also really helpful for keeping people going or putting them down quickly. Things like the grapple gun and gas masks can help you get through hazardous terrain and stuff a little bit easier. Um, Explosives should be best left to the professionals who invest a lot of nuyen into and a lot of um, skill points and stuff into that because that can go really bad really quickly. Uh, and then most people can pick up little things like uh, concealable quick draw holsters, arm slides, that kind of stuff for quick and easy access to all of your stuff. Um, but that was just the real quick down and dirty version of this document that I floated around the internet for about a year and a half now, almost. Um, if you guys have questions or comments or concerns, please put them in the video description, or not in the video description, I'm sorry, in the comment section down below. I will put a link to this document specifically down in the down below. I will hopefully try and come back and actually finish it off because I didn't remember that there was notes at the bottom of things that still needed to be added, and maybe updated a little bit for some of the newer books that have come out because that's probably not a bad idea. But thank you guys for stopping by and listening. I hope that you found this both informative and entertaining. And please, if you have any questions, leave them down below or contact me later.